I'm Catherine Wilson, 32, a financial consultant in Chicago, who's always felt like the family outsider despite my best efforts. Last Tuesday, I came home to find a certified letter from my father waiting at my door. As I read his cold words formally, disinviting me from our family reunion, I felt hurt but not surprised, given our history. What my father didn't remember was that I had co-signed for the $350,000 family business loan 5 years ago. After hours of thought, I simply texted back one word: understood. If you've ever had to make tough family decisions, drop a comment, letting me know where you're watching from, and hit subscribe to join me through this journey of standing up for myself after years of manipulation. I grew up in suburban Boston, with a father who built his identity around control and achievement. Robert Wilson founded Wilson Accounting Partners when I was just 3 years old. And from day one, it was clear this business would be the center of our family universe. My father expected all 3 of his children to eventually join the firm, continuing what he called the Wilson legacy. My mother, Diane, perfected the art of appeasing my father while privately disagreeing with many of his decisions. This created a household where truth had 2 versions: what we said to Dad's face and what was whispered behind closed doors. I have 2 siblings who received very different treatment than I did. My older brother, Mark, was groomed from childhood to be the heir to the family business. He received private accounting tutoring from age 12 and was taken to client meetings as a teenager. My younger sister, Jennifer, was unquestionably Dad's favorite. Her ballet recitals warranted closing the office early, while my debate team championships barely earned a congratulatory nod. Despite maintaining a 4.0 GPA throughout high school, my father constantly criticized my interest in economics as too theoretical and impractical. I remember bringing home an award for a financial analysis competition in 11th grade, excited to finally earn his approval. Instead of congratulations, he scanned my project and said, "This would never work in the real world. Clients want practical solutions, not academic theories." My mother found me crying in my room later that night. "He's just stressed about the Patterson account," she whispered, patting my hand. "He's proud of you. He just doesn't know how to show it." But the next morning at breakfast, when I brought up the issue, she sided with Dad. "Your father just wants what's best for your future, Catherine." This pattern repeated throughout my childhood. Impossible standards, withholding approval, private consolation, and public betrayal. My escape came through a full scholarship to Northwestern University. The day I received my acceptance letter, my father didn't congratulate me. Instead, he calculated how much money I was wasting by not attending a local school and joining the family business immediately. During my college years, I built a life in Chicago that felt free from my father's constant judgment. I excelled in my finance program and secured an internship at a prestigious consulting firm that later offered me a full-time position. When I called home with the news, my father's response was, "So you're officially abandoning the family business then?" For years after, our relationship consisted of obligatory holiday visits, filled with tense conversations about when I would come to my senses and move back to Boston. Each time I shared a professional achievement, it was dismissed or compared unfavorably to my brother's work at the family firm. Just last month, I received a significant promotion to senior consultant, leading my own team for the first time. When I mentioned it during our monthly family call, my father changed the subject to Mark's new client acquisition. This summer marked the Wilson family's 20th annual reunion at our lake house in New Hampshire. Despite the anxiety these gatherings typically caused me, I had tentatively planned to attend. My mother had been dropping hints that Dad was softening toward my career choices. "He mentioned your firm's client list to his golf buddies," she said. "I think he's finally starting to see your success." Looking back, I can see how desperately I still wanted his approval, despite years of evidence that it would never come unconditionally. The certified letter arrived after an exhausting 14-hour workday, finalizing a major client proposal. The delivery required my signature, which struck me as odd since my family typically communicated through casual texts or occasional phone calls. Standing in my apartment hallway, I signed for the envelope and noticed my father's law firm was listed as the sender, not our home address. I carried the letter inside as the sunset painted my Chicago skyline view in hues of orange and purple. With a cup of tea in hand, I sat at my kitchen island and opened the envelope, pulling out a single page of expensive stationery with the Wilson Accounting Partners letterhead. The words blurred before my eyes as I read, "Dear Catherine, after considerable family discussion, we have unanimously decided that your presence at this year's Wilson family reunion would be detrimental to the harmonious atmosphere we wish to maintain. Your continued rejection of family traditions and responsibilities has become an embarrassment to the Wilson name. Your selfish choices and refusal to contribute to our shared legacy demonstrate that you no longer value your place in this family. Therefore, we request that you do not attempt to attend the gathering on July 15th and 17th. We are effectively cutting ties until such time as you demonstrate a commitment to family obligations. Regards, Robert Wilson." My hand shook so violently that tea spilled onto my white blouse. A strange tightness gripped my chest as tears welled in my eyes. The formal tone, the cold legal language, the use of we to imply everyone had agreed to this rejection. It all triggered memories from childhood. My 10th birthday, when Dad worked late and missed my party. The high school graduation dinner, where he spent 3 hours critiquing my university choice. Instead of celebrating the Christmas, when my gift was a brochure for the family business. I slid to the floor, back against the cabinets, and allowed myself 15 minutes of gut-wrenching sobs. Then, almost as suddenly as it began, the crying stopped. A strange calm washed over me, accompanied by clarity I hadn't experienced before regarding my family. I picked up my phone to call Melissa, my best friend since college, but put it down. Again. This was something I needed to process alone first. For 3 hours, I sat in silence, occasionally rereading the letter, examining how each word made me feel. I took a long shower, made a proper dinner even though I wasn't hungry, and went through my nighttime routine as if it were any normal evening. Just before midnight, I picked up my phone and typed a single-word reply to my father. Understood. No arguing, no emotional pleas. No desperate attempts to change his mind. Around 3 in the morning, I jolted awake with a realization that sent me straight to my home office. 5 years ago, I had co-signed for the Wilson Accounting Partners expansion loan, a $350,000 commitment that still appeared on my credit report. While lying in bed, an article I'd recently read about co-signer removal procedures floated into my consciousness. By dawn, I had researched everything I needed to know about removing myself from that obligation. If my family wanted to cut ties, they would learn that such decisions cut both ways. No longer would I allow emotional manipulation to endanger my financial security. As the sun rose over Lake Michigan, I made 2 appointments, one with my financial advisor and another with the bank that held the family business loan. After years of reacting emotionally to my family's manipulation, I was choosing deliberate action instead. 5 years ago, Wilson Accounting Partners decided to expand into tax advisory services for high net worth clients, requiring significant investment in specialized software, additional office space, and hiring specialized staff. My father organized a family business dinner to discuss the $350,000 loan needed for this expansion. I was visiting Boston for my mother's birthday, making the timing suspiciously convenient. Everyone in the family needs to show their commitment, my father announced as dessert was served. The bank requires additional guarantors, and as Wilsons, we stand together. When I expressed hesitation about taking on such significant financial liability while building my own career, my father's expression hardened. I see. Your brother and sister are willing to support the family legacy, but you're too busy with your Chicago life to help. My mother squeezed my hand under the table. It's just a formality, Catherine, she whispered. The business is doing so well. This loan will be paid off in no time. It won't affect your credit or future at all. What no one mentioned during that dinner was that Mark and Jennifer weren't just co-signing. They were receiving increased profit-sharing percentages and formal titles in the company organizational chart. I discovered this information months later through an accidental email forwarding. When I called my father to discuss this discrepancy, he dismissed my concerns. They're actively working in the business, while you chose to abandon it. What did you expect? Over the years, I made several attempts to discuss the loan's status and my desire to be removed as conditions improved. Each attempt was met with emotional manipulation. After everything we've done for you, this is how you repay us, my father would say. My brother's response was equally dismissive. Don't worry your pretty little consultant head about it. The business is thriving and the loan is a non-issue. But industry colleagues occasionally mentioned concerning rumors about Wilson Accounting's financial situation. Their client retention rate had dropped, and several key staff members had departed for competitors. Meanwhile, the loan's presence on my credit report had practical implications for my life. Last year, I delayed purchasing a condo because their debt-to-income ratio affected my mortgage application terms. I maintained a perfect payment history on my student loans and credit cards, specifically to counterbalance the business loan's impact. The day after receiving my father's letter, I met with my financial advisor, Sarah. I've been telling you to address this for years, she said, reviewing my credit report. Co-signing for family is one of the riskiest financial moves you can make, even more so when the relationship is complicated. She helped me prepare all necessary documentation for my meeting with the original loan officer at First National Business Bank. Mr. Ramirez remembered me from the original loan signing. This is unusual, he said, reviewing my request for removal. Typically, co-signers remain for the duration of the loan term, unless the primary borrower refinances or pays off the obligation. I explained that my relationship with the family business had changed significantly. I no longer have any involvement with Wilson Accounting Partners, and I need to ensure my financial independence. The process required substantial paperwork, documentation of my changed relationship with the business, and a formal notification to the primary borrower. Your father will be notified of your request, Mr. Ramirez warned, and the bank will need to re-evaluate the loan terms based on the remaining guarantor's financial positions. I understood the implications. If the business was struggling as rumors suggested, my removal might trigger a loan review that could cause problems for my family. But for the first time, I prioritized my own financial security over my father's approval. After submitting all required documentation, I was told the process would take approximately 30 to 45 business days. But sometimes, timing and circumstance align in unexpected ways. Due to a bank merger and staff reorganization, my case was expedited. The same day I signed the final documents releasing me from the loan obligation, I felt a mixture of guilt and profound relief. For perhaps the first time in my adult life, I had chosen my own well-being over my family's expectations. Exactly 36 hours after receiving my father's rejection letter, my email pinged with an automated notification from First National Business Bank. This message confirms your successful removal as guarantor from loan WA Sesasma 729B, effective immediately. I was in the middle of a client presentation when the first call from my mother came through. I sent it to voicemail and continued explaining quarterly projections to my team. When I checked during our coffee break, her message was uncharacteristically terse. Catherine, call immediately. Family business emergency. I decided strategic patience was my best approach. My day included a client retreat at a lakeside venue with limited cell reception, giving me legitimate reason to delay response. I returned to full cell service that evening to discover what could only be described as a communication explosion. 78 missed calls populated my log. 35 from my mother, 23 from my father, 14 from my brother, and scattered calls from my sister, uncle, and even my father's business partner. My text messages contained a progression of family panic. Mom, call now, Dad needs to speak with you. Then, Catherine Elizabeth Wilson, this is not the time to be unavailable. Finally, your father is having chest pains from stress. Is that what you want? My email inbox contained an equally alarming pattern. My father's messages evolved from rage to panic to attempted reconciliation over the course of the day. The first email arrived at 10:17 a.m. with the subject line, "Your irresponsible action," and contained mostly capital letters. What have you done? Do you have any idea the damage you've caused? Call immediately. By noon, the tone had shifted to financial threats. The bank is calling for an immediate loan review. You'll be named in the lawsuit when this destroys the business. By late afternoon, he attempted a different approach. Catherine, I may have been harsh in my letter. Perhaps we should discuss your concerns about the family reunion. Your mother misses you. My mother's emails contained emotional manipulation. That once would have devastated me. All the family photos we've planned won't be complete without you. The Wilson legacy your grandfather built is at stake. Don't you care about your family heritage at all? My brother's messages were the most revealing. The bank says the loan-to-value ratio is no longer acceptable without your income statement. We can't qualify for refinancing in the current market. What were you thinking? The most surprising communication came from my sister, Jennifer. Instead of the alignment with my father I expected, her message showed unexpected understanding. I don't agree with how Dad handled things. That letter was cruel. I want you to know I wasn't part of that decision. Call when you're ready to talk. By midnight, extended family members and family friends had been recruited to the pressure campaign. My father's college roommate, my mother's sister, and even my godparents sent messages urging me to fix things before the business suffers irreparable harm. Through these frantic communications, the truth emerged in fragments. The business had been behind on loan payments for several months. My father had used business funds to purchase a vacation property in Florida without consulting his partners. The unanimous family decision to cut ties with me was actually my father's unilateral action, driven by fear I would discover financial improprieties at the upcoming reunion. The most revealing message arrived at 2:13 a.m. from my father's rarely used personal email rather than his business account. Catherine, without your name on this loan, the bank is demanding accelerated payment terms we cannot meet. Without immediate intervention, Wilson Accounting Partners will need to close its doors within 60 days. 30 years of building this legacy for ungrateful children will be erased. Is this the daughter I raised? Is this how you repay everything we've sacrificed for you? The security desk in my office building called up 3 days later. Ms. Wilson, there's a Robert Wilson here insisting on seeing you. He doesn't have an appointment. Should we send him up? My heart raced, but I remained outwardly composed. No, Dave. Please tell him I'll meet him at the coffee shop across the street in 15 minutes. I needed the buffer of a public space for whatever confrontation was coming. When I arrived at Chicago Grind, my father wasn't alone. My mother sat beside him, eyes red-rimmed from crying. I ordered a cappuccino before joining them, taking those extra moments to center myself. Catherine, my father began immediately, voice tight with barely controlled rage. What you've done is unforgivable. You've put the entire family business at risk out of petty revenge. Several nearby patrons glanced our way at his rising tone. I don't see it that way, I replied evenly. You sent a letter explicitly cutting ties with me. I simply took appropriate steps to protect my financial interests based on your stated wishes. My mother reached for my hand, which I gently moved away. Sweetheart, your father didn't mean what he wrote. He was just upset that you keep refusing to join the business. My father's face flushed dark red. The bank is demanding a complete audit now. Do you understand what you've done? They're questioning transactions from the past 3 years. Your brother might lose his house if we can't meet the new terms. I took a slow sip of my cappuccino. Dad, why was the business behind on loan payments for months before I removed myself as guarantor? His momentary flicker of surprise confirmed what I had suspected. Who told you that? That's a temporary cash flow issue. Normal in any business. Nothing for you to concern yourself with. I placed my phone on the table, open to screenshots of my brother's texts. Mark seems to think it's serious enough. He mentioned you can't qualify for refinancing. Why is that? My mother dabbed at her eyes with a tissue. Business finances are complicated, Catherine. You wouldn't understand the complexities of running a family company. For the first time, I laughed out loud. Mom, I'm a financial consultant. Understanding business finances is literally my job. My father's control finally snapped. You think you're so clever with your fancy Chicago job. While you've been playing consultant, I've been building something real, something that will last generations. Or it would have, if my own daughter hadn't stabbed me in the back. The couple at the next table openly stared now. I leaned forward, lowering my voice. Let's be honest for once. Why did you really send that letter, Dad? It wasn't about the family reunion, was it? My mother glanced nervously at my father, whose jaw worked silently for several seconds. You've been asking too many questions, he finally muttered. Always poking around in business matters that don't concern you. Your brother mentioned you called asking about the loan status last month. The truth crystallized with stunning clarity. The reunion. You were going to discuss the business financial troubles. At the reunion, you didn't want me there because I would understand exactly how bad things are. My father's silence confirmed my theory. Did Mark and Jennifer know about the letter? Did they agree I should be disinvited? My mother looked down at her untouched tea. Your father thought it best. I stood up, suddenly feeling years of manipulation lift from my shoulders. Let me be perfectly clear. I will not be manipulated back into financial entanglement with the family business. I will not sacrifice my financial security to rescue Dad from mismanagement. And I will not apologize for protecting myself after you explicitly cut ties with me. My father stood too, pointing his finger inches from my face. You'll regret this decision, Catherine. When Wilson Accounting fails, everyone will know it was your selfishness that destroyed your family's legacy. To my absolute shock, my mother rose and stepped between us. Robert, stop it. This isn't Catherine's fault. We've been using the business as an ATM for years, while blaming the economy for our problems. Our daughter has every right to protect herself. My father's face registered utter disbelief at this betrayal. From my normally acquiescent mother, I gathered my purse and jacket. I'm leaving now. Please don't come to my workplace again. If you want to have a relationship with me, moving forward, it will need to be built on honesty and mutual respect, not manipulation and guilt. As I walked away, my father called after me, alternating between threats and pleas. I didn't look back. The liberation I felt was tangled with grief for the healthy family relationship I'd never had, and now likely never would. But for the first time since childhood, I was choosing my own well-being over the desperate need for my father's approval. News about the Wilson Accounting Partners' troubles filtered through family connections over the following weeks. My father sold the lakefront property in New Hampshire, where our family reunions had been held for 2 decades. My brother took a second mortgage on his house to inject capital into the struggling business. Most surprising was the text I received from my sister Jennifer. Can we meet next time you're in Boston? Or I could come to Chicago. I need to talk to you away from Mom and Dad. A month later, Jennifer sat across from me at my favorite Chicago restaurant, looking nervous but determined. I need to apologize, she said after ordering. I've watched Dad manipulate you my entire life, and I never said anything. Sometimes I even used it to my advantage. She explained that as Dad's favorite, she'd enjoyed privileges and protection I never received. But it came with suffocating expectations. I'm supposed to be taking over client relations next year, but I don't even like accounting. I've been afraid to tell him. Our conversation lasted hours, laying the groundwork for an honest adult relationship we'd never before experienced. Other family realignments surprised me too. My father's estranged brother, Uncle Steve, reached out after hearing about the conflict. Your father did the same thing to me 20 years ago, he revealed over lunch. The Wilson men have a pattern of using the business to control the family. Your grandfather did it to your father, who swore he'd never repeat the pattern, but did exactly that. My professional life continued to flourish amid the personal turmoil. I landed a major client the same week as the coffee shop confrontation with my parents. My team's consistent results led to an unexpected offer to head a new division, focusing on small business financial restructuring. The irony wasn't lost on me. I would be helping other family businesses avoid the exact mistakes my father had made. I found tremendous support through weekly therapy sessions, journaling, and my chosen family of friends. Melissa invited me to spend Thanksgiving with her family in Michigan, offering my first holiday experience without walking on eggshells or bracing for criticism. My colleague Jordan introduced me to his weekend hiking group, where I built new friendships based on shared interests rather than obligation. When December arrived, I made a decision that symbolized my transformation. I purchased my own condo, overlooking the Chicago River. It was the first major life decision I made without seeking my family's input or approval. The down payment came from savings I'd accumulated while carefully building my credit, despite the family loan that had previously held me back. The moment I signed the closing documents, I felt a profound sense of establishing my own legacy, separate from the Wilson name that had been both burden and identity for so long. My evolving relationship with Jennifer became a bright spot in the family landscape. We established a sisters-only rule: complete honesty without judgment. Through her, I learned that our parents' marriage had deteriorated significantly following the business crisis. My mother had begun therapy herself, questioning decades of accommodating my father's controlling behavior. Jennifer reported that when she suggested my father also seek counseling, he fired his longtime assistant, blaming her for scheduling errors that were actually his own. Uncle Steve shared family history I'd never known, helping me understand the generational patterns of financial control and emotional manipulation that had shaped my father. Your grandfather used to cancel Christmas if your father brought home grades below an A, he told me. Then he'd reinstate it if your father worked weekends at the original accounting office filing papers. This context didn't excuse my father's behavior, but helped me comprehend its origins, gradually transforming my anger into something closer to compassion for a man repeating the only family dynamic he knew. My new home became the center of new traditions. I hosted monthly dinner parties featuring recipes I wanted to try, inviting friends who brought warmth and acceptance into my space. I decorated for holidays according to my own taste, rather than my mother's rigid traditions. When my therapy group suggested creating tangible representations of personal growth, I planted a small container garden on my balcony, something living and growing that required care, but flourished under the right conditions. 1 year after receiving that certified letter, my life looks radically different. My new condo has become a true home, filled with art I love and furniture chosen for comfort rather than appearance. My therapy journey has helped me identify and begin healing from patterns of seeking validation through achievement and people-pleasing that stemmed from my childhood. The most profound breakthrough came when my therapist asked, "What would you do with your life if your father's approval was completely irrelevant?" That question opened possibilities I had never considered, leading me to volunteer teaching financial literacy at a women's shelter and taking an oil painting class simply because it interested me. My relationship with Jennifer has developed into something I never imagined possible. We speak weekly, sharing honest updates about our lives without the family filters that previously distorted our communication. She recently confided that she's applying to graduate programs in education, her true passion, and plans to leave the family business next year. My contact with my parents now occurs on my terms, with clear boundaries I maintain without guilt. My mother has visited my Chicago home twice, tentatively building a relationship independent of my father. During her last visit, she admitted, "I should have protected you more. I thought keeping peace with your father was what mattered most. I was wrong." My father remains unable to acknowledge the harm his controlling behavior caused or accept responsibility for the business difficulties. Our interactions are limited to occasional brief phone calls that end the moment he begins criticizing my choices. I've found unexpected joy in building new traditions with my chosen family of friends. Melissa, Jordan, and other close friends have become my support system, celebrating my victories and providing perspective during challenges. These relationships, built on mutual respect rather than obligation, have shown me what healthy connections truly feel like. Professionally, my department has flourished under my leadership, with our small business division exceeding first-year projections by 32%. I find deep satisfaction in helping family businesses create sustainable financial structures that serve both the business and family members' well-being. My personal growth extends to romance as well. After years of dating men who replicated my father's critical, withholding nature, I've built a relationship with Daniel, whose emotional intelligence and respect for boundaries reflect the healthier patterns I've established in all areas of my life. The most important lesson I've learned through this journey is that forgiveness doesn't require reconciliation. I've forgiven my father, not for his benefit, but for my own peace. This forgiveness doesn't mean returning to unhealthy patterns or accepting continued mistreatment. It means releasing the hope for a different past while creating a healthier future. I've come to understand that financial and emotional entanglement often go hand in hand in families. Just as I needed to remove myself from the business loan to protect my financial future, I needed to disentangle from toxic family dynamics to protect my emotional well-being. The boundaries I've established have allowed my authentic self to emerge from the shadow of family expectations. I've discovered strengths, preferences, and dreams that were previously suppressed in my effort to gain approval. Perhaps most significantly, I've learned that family is defined by behavior rather than blood. The people who truly deserve a place in our lives are those who respect our boundaries, celebrate our authentic selves, and contribute positively to our well-being. My journey continues each day as I build a life based on self-respect rather than external validation. I share this story, hoping it might help others recognize and break free from similar patterns in their own lives. Have you ever had to make a difficult choice between family expectations and your own well-being? I'd love to hear your experiences in the comments below. If my story resonated with you, please subscribe and share it with someone who might need to hear that setting boundaries isn't selfish. It's sometimes the most loving choice we can make, both for ourselves and ultimately for our families. Thank you for witnessing my journey, and I wish you courage in creating the life you truly deserve, surrounded by people who value the real you.